About the high heels, we'd have found them, wouldn't we?
I might have it on here because I've moved on.
Maybe. Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. Now, I'm here with Kenny. I brought Kenny to an interesting place because we're, as Paul Weller and the Jam said for money, we're going underground. And Kenny says he's got no idea where we are.
No idea where I am. I've no idea.
Well, let me tell you, I can give you precise measurements.
Right.
If you look up there, Tony, if you look behind you,
Yeah.
if you look up there, that's Shields Road at the top of there. Now, if you turn around and you look down in that direction, is the River Tyne. Right. It's a third of a mile away. Now, this way is Jesmondine, and it tells you that on the sign. So, you know, let's face it, you're surprisingly close to all the busy part. Newcastle City is just over there, literally less than half a mile. We're in Ouseburn. Ouseburn, an amazing place that people don't come to. And if you want to walk just to catch the air or take a breath, I'm going to take you down by the riverside. But first, we're going to head over yonder. Just down from Dallas Carpets is the entrance place on Ouse Street for you to enter a place called the Victoria Tunnels. They were built in 1839. It took them 3 years to build. An incredible place. It will knock your socks off. A long, long tunnel. Kenny's never been down a tunnel before, so it's going to be a first for him. We've been in before and we heard a lot of strange stuff. Tonight we're going to experience it, and at some point we're going to knock all the lights off and we'll have a listen to see what we can find literally under the heart of Newcastle upon Tyne. So what we're going to do is, we are literally 2 seconds away. We're going to leap in the direction of the Victoria Tunnels, and we're taking you to see one of the most amazing places. Once we can get over one of the busier roads in all of the town.
I understand your last clue now. Cake.
Victoria Sponge.
Yeah.
It was
There you
all
go.
there for you to have. The hippopotamus is actually because of this. Along the sides here, when the tide goes out, quite often there's a very thick mud and a very thick silt.
Right.
And although they called it Ouseburn, Ouse meaning a nice place to visit, because let's face it, that looks very, in the heart of a city, it looks beautiful.
Very nice.
However,
The Norfolk Broads.
but Ouse has another meaning to most of us, and it's synonymous with a number of stories where people ended up dying in this small stretch of waterway. So we've got an awful lot to tell you about. If you want the first story, let's do that now, and then we'll change batteries for when we go under. But come down here with us. Watch your step. Tunnel of Love.
Oh, wait. Bang on.
So all the clues were there.
The way, mate.
I know somebody somewhere will have it. Oh,
I don't think anyone's got it this week.
You might need to explain those clues to the non-supporters, remember, because it's only the supporters that will know
Okay.
what you're talking about.
Right.
well, let's do it. By the way, every week, if you're a supporter, we have a thing called the Blah on a Tuesday, where all the supporters gather together to find out a debrief. And this week we were given pictures of a face at a window that we completely missed.
Didn't see it.
A couple of supporters caught it. We also got the camera that we just put on to cover the gate. We're expecting nothing to happen,
Nothing at all.
and the door ended
Door
up.
opened. Yeah.
No, closed.
Shut, sorry.
Closed.
Shut.
So, stuff we didn't expect. But the best thing about the whole supporters experience, and we'd love you to become one, is we'll give you clues every week as to where we're going. Now, last week I said a thing that hippopotamuses love the most, Mark Knopfler and cakes. Well, today, the Victoria Tunnels. Victoria Sponge, of course. Mark Knopfler, Tunnel of Love, one of the biggest hits, where he talks about the northeastern colour coats
Yeah.
and Whitley Bay, the Spanish city, like the Spanish city to you, when we was kids. And the third clue was
Hippopotamus.
hippopotamus, mud, ooze. When was a hippopotamus happier than when it's oozing, when it's mud, glorious mud? Nothing quite like it for soothing the blood. So there were the clues. We'll have some more clues for our next place on Tuesday night when we do Blah, we call it, but it's a debrief of everything that happens tonight. But come and join us, and don't forget, if you do become a supporter, and we'd love you to do that, you don't just get that ghost hunt, you get all subsequent ghost hunts, and you get all of the 30, 40 other full-fledged ghost hunts and debriefs that we've done. You get the whole lot. But anyway, come on down here. Always. Now, my nose is running because it's the storm. What's the name of the storm that's supposed to hit us today? Storm Dudley. Dudley.
Was it Dudley?
Yeah, it's Dudley, then Eunice, or I think coming. There's always a storm. This is beautiful, man. This is lovely, and this is just right. Nice, isn't it? It's in between. It's not quite dark. It's not quite light. It's very atmospheric. And I want to tell you, it's a ghost story that I found that I'm not aware of anybody telling before, because it's a Bristol ghost story.
Ooh,
Bristol.
new.
Now, if it was up here, we'd all hear it. This is about a boat like one of these. In fact, probably less like that, more like that.
Right.
Now, Bristol, if you've ever been to Bristol, you'll know it's on a river, lots of bridges over, and there was a boat down there called the Percy Rab. Percy and then R-A-B, but they called it the Percy Rab for some reason. Now, one day, a man called Doherty saw this boat, and it was just parked up like one of these, and the guy says, I'm looking for a boat. I've never ever seen anybody on board that particular ship. No, come on. Don't worry, thanks, Dana. He'd never seen anybody on board this particular boat. So he said, maybe the guy will sell it. So he came along the dock to a cabin where the guy took all of the fares, from like mooring fees.
Yeah.
And he said, there's a boat up there, it's called the Percy Rab. Do you know who owns it? And he says, the mooring guy says, nobody owns it. And he said, what do you mean nobody owns it? Oh, the guy that used to own it just didn't show up about 2 years ago, and it's just sat there ever since. And he says, well, I'd like to buy it. And this guy says, well, we'd quite like rid of it. So if you give me a little bit of money and suddenly one day it's not there, you'd have to register it and do all the necessary. So this man called, it's either Doherty or Doherty, and it's not with a C, D-O-H-E-R-T-Y. Some people call that Doherty, but I think it's Doherty. So this guy called Doherty buys the boat, takes his wife and 2 children for a trip, Bristol, into the estuary, just where the sea hits and turns them around, brings them back, ties up at the same dock in Bristol where he did. Now he's paying the guy every month for rental. Then one day he doesn't show up. He doesn't pay his monthly fees. And the guy's saying, well, where is he? It's the same as the last thing. Yeah. Then the guy went on board the ship and he found the man and woman and 2 children dead on board the ship. Now, there was a... Do you hear that?
There was a squeak there, wasn't there?
A bell.
Is that what that was?
That was a bell. That was weird. Lovely and atmospheric, man, when you're talking about a ship's bell going off. Yeah. So anyway,
Jesus!
What was that? What was that?
What is going on? Now, off camera, we heard an explosion kind of thing before, didn't we?
Is that what it is?
Is it that?
It might be that. There's like a plastic thing hanging from the bridge.
There. It's like someone threw one of those.
Banger thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, they found the bodies. The guy went on board. When he was in there, he got a weird kind of smell, and he thought, is this so? Because sometimes in rivers you get gas coming up from below ground. Yeah. So he thought, well, maybe it's that. Maybe it's gas that's taken the lives of these 4 people. So once again, the boat's up for grabs. Nobody owns it. And you end up having a situation where nobody's paying mooring fees. So the guy from the mooring thing just wants shot of it. So this other guy comes up. His name was Ray, but he was from the northeast. And he says, is that boat back again? He said, yeah. Now, this guy, Ray, was selling a boat that he'd done up.
Right.
And the guy who wanted it was in Bristol. So he'd taken a boat all the way around the British, a long way around, all the way around the British coast, round Cornwall, up to Bristol, sold him the boat, made a big profit, and then he sees this other little boat and he thinks, it's a bit knackered, but I could do that one up and I could sell it just the same. So instead of getting like a train back, he decides, I'll take the boat and I'll take the boat back. He gets back up to this river, parks it here. This is why it's so juicy. He parks it here. He does the boat up. It looks amazing. And then one day, the guy's late for his mooring fees. Now, the guy here who does the moorings knows nothing about the previous stuff.
Right.
The Percy Rab, a new boat. He's only been here a month and he's not paying me. What's that about? So he goes down, and do you see how this second boat, if we walk along a little bit, if you see the second boat, you see how it's got like a little bit of a mast in the middle?
Yeah.
Just above the pink door. Well, this was probably...
What's going on here?
We're being harassed with gunshots, it sounds. Wow. This was a boat though, and it had a major mast in the middle, possibly as big as this guy over here. You see, there's a slightly bigger boat around. We're being flagged at, and careful, Tony. There's some joggers coming down, just as we speak. Aye. Thought that dog was going to lick your face there.
I'll pee on us.
So anyway, it had a main mast, and there was something hanging from the mast. And when he got down to the bottom and got on board the ship, there was a rope hanging off the side of the ship, and on the end of the rope was Ray hanging by his neck, and he was dead, and he was on this river, Ray. Now, so Ray didn't have the ability to sell it. So rather like it was on that river in Bristol, I think it's the Avon, isn't it, in Bristol?
It's the Avon, isn't it?
The Percy Rab just lying in dock.
What the hell's going on here? Are we getting shot at?
I heard 2 gunshots. It sounded like gunshots. Anyway, woo, I got shot at once in Kosovo, not in Kosovo, in Slovakia.
I did in Leeds.
Oh, so, once again, the Percy Rab's on a river. Nobody owns it because the guy's dead and he didn't have any family. So the guy who does the moorings said, well, I might as well just sell it again. This guy came up, his name was R. Glass. Mr. R. Glass bought the boat. And he went out to sea for his first voyage out of here, up the end of the Tyne, into the North Sea. He got 100 yards off the beach and the boat sank and he lost his life. Now, it was said that there was a poltergeist that had possessed the boat.
Right.
So it wasn't like a ghost haunted the boat, it was attached to the boat. Now, of course, it's lost at sea. What does a poltergeist do? They claim that along this riverbank there's a troublesome spirit, and what have we just heard? Bells ringing, gunshots, bangs.
All kinds.
Who knows whether it's that or whether it's coincidence, but it's a hell of a story. The poltergeist of the Percy Rab.
Looks like that boat's on fire, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? That is a weird. Do you see that? How it looks like flame close to the bottom.
Sarah Jane.
Amazing. Well, we're going to come back to this pathway soon, but next we're going to stop for literally 5 minutes. We're dashing up across the road where we will be talking to you in literally 5 minutes' time. Make sure you share. Kenny, show your bosom
My badge.
to these guys, and you get yourself a wonderful, one of our near legendary Night Owl badges. Not
No.
plastic, they're proper metal in
Proper
everything. So if you would like one, share. Get as many people to join us as possible. We're heading across to the tunnels. Let's get down there.
There.
Make sure you shut the door behind us. Hello everybody, blimey. Windy, blustery, crazy out there. Get that door closed behind us. This is the wonder, and you need your hard hats. This is the Victoria Tunnels under Newcastle upon Tyne, an amazing place. It was built in 1839 with the idea to take coal from the Leazes colliery to the Staithes. Now, the Staithes, as Kenny knows, because you're a Dunstan lad,
Dunstan boy.
the Staithes here was a place where you could put the coal on board ships and transport it around all of the United Kingdom. This, from wartime, we'll be telling you a lot of stories about World War II associated with this amazing tunnel. Now, the walls down here have actually been improved because when it became an air raid shelter, they put blast walls in it. So even if a bomb was to land anywhere, the extra strong walls would hold and protect people. Exactly what they didn't do at that factory we were at, not so many, remember? The whole place came down. This is an incredible thing. It took them 3 years to build, and then they had the biggest party that Newcastle had ever seen for all of the people that built it down the big market in 1842.
Not much changes.
So I know, they knew where the action was, absolutely. Now, there's only ever been one death down here. Now, let me introduce you to, there's a ghostly chap down here. Now, we're going to go down both sides. I think at one point, Kenny will both head in opposite directions.
Right.
Then we'll meet in the middle.
Yeah.
But, Ken, this is the direction where the only death took place, which is, I presume, why they've got this guy there.
Right.
Just head down. Be careful he doesn't jump out at you, Kenny.
Oh, don't.
No, because he will. He could possibly.
You know, a skeleton there.
That was me.
Stop it!
They've obviously rigged it with a bit of wire. But the but along here, you've got. This was the bit leading out of the tunnels to the Staithes. Now, there was a time when a man called William Coulson, who everybody knew as Billy Coulson, was asked to take 2 investors through the tunnel. Because they were thinking, well, we'll sell them the tunnel. Who knows what they're going to do with it? I mean, maybe storage, who knows? But they were the Arkless brothers. And when Billy was walking down saying, oh, it's well made, it's strong, you can do anything with it, you can transport your goods from one side of the city to the other, the Arklesses heard this rumbling noise. And Billy Coulson looked up, well, there was nobody in the tunnel except them, and he kind of looked up that way, and it's a long way. Now you see there's a wall there. That wall wasn't always there. Was that what?
Is that a camera?
Wow. That
Already?
just turned itself off.
How's that?
That is so strange.
Wow. Tell you, these tunnels,
How can it? My
Stuff.
phone's died as well.
stuff happens, man.
My phone, seriously, my phone. I charged all night. Look,
I've charged everything.
my phone's died. It's completely dead.
It is, you can't even switch it
No.
on.
It really is.
Is it working again?
It's got a full battery. I don't know what's happened there.
That's bizarre. What a way to start. As soon as we start talking about Billy,
Yeah.
then Billy makes himself known. How good is that?
How mad is that?
We're going to get something tonight, I hope.
God,
Right,
don't know what happened there.
put that back in. Don't tingle again.
Ooh, I can't help it. If I need a tingle.
No, so Billy Coulson heard this rumble and he looked up there, and as I was saying, there's a big white wall at the end. But that wall wasn't there. It was just metal rails, train tracks essentially, and somebody at yon end, right up the other side of the tunnel, probably half a mile away. You got to remember, we're on a gradient here. Yeah. You can see the gradient come down. This wagon, loaded full of rubble, not even coal, loaded full of rubble, was piling down. A couple of the lads at yon end had incorrectly heard what one of the bosses said. The boss said, oh, leave it a couple of hours, then send that rubble down. Leave it a couple of hours. But they said, oh, the boss said, send that truck down. So the truck, being a big metal container loaded full of rubble, came piling down here. Now they heard it. But the thing is, there was no safety lights back then. There was no powerful torches. you know, that he had a lantern where he was showing him this pitch black hole in the ground. So it took till that heavy wagon was about 30, 40 feet away before they realised it was coming straight at them. Now, if you look at the walls, there is literally nowhere to go. Now, they were already down here. Now, miraculously, and it varies exactly what happened depending who tells the story. The usual story is that one of the Arkless brothers managed to find a nick like this. Now, there's like a little gap where he was able to just dive out the way. Now, the other Arkless brother apparently lay down on the tracks as flat as he possibly could, and the truck went over him. Well, poor Billy Coulson, he thought, my only chance is to leg it. So he turned around and he ran down here as fast as he could. And he managed to get about 50, 60 feet before the truck just hit him, piled him down, crushed him flat. There's also stories of another runaway truck going right to the very end, hitting the wall, coming out of the wooden doors that obviously had to lock to stop people pinching coal while this was an area to transport coal, going across the road and into the river. So, you know, there may well only be one person who ever died here. But even during the building of it, how many people lost a finger, lost an arm, lost a foot, was blinded, you know? Oh, full on. And of course, you've got to regularly check that this place hasn't got any gas in it, because obviously gas can combust and you're in big trouble. But don't forget, share, and if you do, hang on, you should be able to. Kenny, show them yours.
There's mine.
Mine's under layers of glove.
There, look.
Get yourself one of our lovely night owl badges, and we'll be giving you a chance to get some of our hoodies as well within the next few weeks. However, I think the best thing we can do, and I'll tell you a load more stories, especially about wartime. You saw those incredible posters and met a couple of amazing volunteers. They're lovely people here. They always have been. They've been very kind to us. And some people say when you're down here, you can hear what sounded like an aeroplane. Did you hear that?
There's a rumble there, wasn't there?
There was a rumble.
There was a rumble, yeah.
It could be, hand on heart, could be traffic, could be anything. But it didn't sound to come from out there.
No.
Now, we've been down here before in Tonia. You and I heard a scream when
It sounded like a witch's scream as well. It was an evil thing.
And you think, well, how, where, why? It was an odd thing. Now we know, we were explained what this waterway is.
Can I just go to the car, because I think that SD card's not working in there, just for that camera.
Okay.
Kenny, do you want to hold this and then you can continue? And then I'll just
Right.
change the SD card, because that might be the problem.
Okay.
Give us
There you
your,
go.
give
Have you
us
just
that.
touched that, by the way?
Have I just touched that?
Look. Or is that just like a wind thing?
I don't know.
There can't be wind down here. There you go, that's a screen.
Look,
Just because we can't not have this camera
could that
on.
not have been from when I jerked it about 5 minutes ago?
I just noticed the shadow of it there moving.
No, that doesn't affect it, because I did this.
I've got to
You
say,
look at the thing,
I've always been fascinated by tunnels, you know, because you know the Vietnam tunnels?
yeah, oh yeah.
And I've always wanted to visit the Vietnam tunnels. This is probably the closest thing I'm going to get to it, like a tunnel under the ground like this. It's
No, absolutely.
just amazing.
Well, what I'm going to do is we talked in the week about how different radio ghost hunts are. I'm going to knock the lights off. Now, I don't know how much you can see if we go up here. Kenny is our cameraman for the very first time. Now,
That'll be fun.
along here we were talking about World War II. Watch your head as well, because this is quite low, unless you're at a short bottom like myself. The night of the 1st of September in 1941, a major bombing raid. Bombs, the Luftwaffe wanted to try and hit shipyards, wanted to hit goods yards, had a major explosion on Manners goods yard. Now, a lot of people have heard of Manners but don't really know where it is. If you're driving the bypass through the city centre, you will see the big Northumbria University building on your left-hand side if you're heading south. That is where Manners Goodyard used to be. Bombs and flares hit that whole area, completely destroyed the whole thing, and it was burning for 4 days and 4 nights before they were able to extinguish the fire. It was horrific. A lot of people didn't make it in that particular building. And yet, you know, we talk about how, but nobody died down here. This place was full of people laughing and joking and playing cards and reading a book and women knitting. And they had a few benches so the bairns could be put to bed, and you'd have a few musty old blankets. And the further you get along here, and as you notice, it's soaking wet, which doesn't really reassure you when you're in a tunnel.
Underwater.
But absolutely, because when you're actually under Ouseburn. Now, ooze, what do you think ooze means, Kenny?
Ooze sounds like something that's like mud coming out of something.
And mud, the thing that hippopotamuses love the most, mud is what this whole area is synonymous for, mud and silt. And we've got a ton of stories to share with you in that regard. However, ooze actually means something that makes you smile, from Norse. And when people first saw this beautiful stream running through a small settlement with beautiful trees.
What was that?
It's just me, can you let me in?
When you hear a voice and you're thinking, what the hell?
You know that thing about not interrupting?
I love these, man.
Watch your head,
Let us
Kenny.
go for it together. And this, the Women's Land Army. And look, isn't this amazing? All them years ago, hey, who thought COVID's a new thing? Look at that. Coughs and sneezes, spreads diseases, trap the germs by using your handkerchief. And here we are, 70 years later, doing exactly the same, isn't it? Coughs and sneezes, spread diseases, trap the germs by using your handkerchief.
You're working.
80 years, yeah.
Thanks, Kenny. You're working again.
There you go.
Right, well, let's pick up from where we were. We've handed the camera back to Tony because...
My one and only stint as a camera.
But isn't that amazing, Kenny? There's your thing.
Yeah.
I think the most amazing thing, we'll have a walk around before we split.
Right.
The most amazing thing here is
Hit your head on there.
we've started already and we're already getting things turning themselves off, things we can't use, things we can't work.
Put that down a bit.
Please
There
tell
you
me
go.
it's working again.
It is, it's on now, it's recording.
So you go first, Ken. So we were just talking about how Northumbria University site Manners was completely destroyed. And even though the people down here felt perhaps more secure than they would be in their homes, because over 1,000 families were made homeless on one single night. Watch your head and get under cover. You're now on the corner of Ouseburn
I'll tell you
Street.
it is, anybody's got claustrophobia would... Oh! What the last 5 minutes?
Or a dodgy knee, maybe.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Watch your out. Watch your head.
Wait, you can see from there.
Hello.
There's no water.
Yeah. And it goes on, and there's another corner. And you keep going and going
Right.
and going. You can understand small children running along here, playing and seeing, daring each other how far you can get along. And there's the water running from an old Roman fort that is under a place where I've gigged. Have you ever gigged at St Dominic's?
I have actually.
So have I. And
Steve Brockstewart did there. Steve
It's-
Brock, the camera guy.
it's built on top of a Roman fort.
Right.
And they used the water course to clean their bottoms and on the other side drink.
Right.
Trying to make sure they didn't get the two mixed up.
Steve Brock and Steve Walls. There you go. Two guys.
And don't forget, if you see anything, if you pick anything up on camera, make sure you snap it, cut it, send it to us, make sure that we see, because every week we discover on our blog on a Tuesday, 7:30, if you're a supporter, we all team up together and we share. Last week's blog, we caught a head in a window, clear as day, floating away, and somebody else sent in a thing of the camera that we just put staring into an empty courtyard, caught a door closing. So mind-blowing stuff. But here we are, down the tunnel.
How long are these tunnels?
They go on,
Don't they?
forever, man, forever. Well, they cut across the centre of Newcastle upon
But
Tyne.
what a clever, like, you know, so you can actually see through that little hole.
Yeah, but you've got to remember these walls weren't there at the time.
Ah, right.
Because you had railway tracks on the bottom,
Got you.
so that you could go from one side to the other. So these have been built to strengthen them. And I think that's the thing that takes you up to one of the streets. Although it did go a little bit further, I believe, in the time.
Right. Oh.
Now, for people that were damaged here, we've heard the story of the young lad who wanted to watch the aeroplanes flying around and who wouldn't want to see British Spitfires and Hurricanes firing at German Dorniers and Henkels and what have you. So some children squeezed out, escaped from where their mum was, got out the door and were watching all of this, and some of them didn't come back. And I heard a story today for the first time. One of a fellow ghost hunter called Rob said there was a story that people got killed outside, and quite often there was a lot of blood around on the path that unsettled everybody. So the pathway was painted green to cover the blood stains on the pavement. Now, that may well be true. I've got no reason to doubt it. However, I also found that when a group of people leaving here were killed, not by a bomb but by a wall collapsing, they put sediment and silt from the Ouseburn, shovels of it, over the top to turn it into mud. And when the mud washed away with the rain, it took the blood away with them. Others have said shoveling sand on the places where bodies used to be. So it was not an uncommon thing. I know a few stories. Ethel Dodds was an old woman who apparently got into the shelter in time and then decided, oh, I've left my pension book and my money and my purse and everything back at home, and I just live around the corner, let me out. She got out and she never returned because her house was exploded and blown to the ground. There were the Gill family, Mr. and Mrs. Gill. I don't know Mr. Gill's name because it's not mentioned in records. Mrs. Gill was Ivy Gill. She was 91, he was 89. And they decided, because he was a bit poorly, that they weren't going to go to this shelter, which was their local shelter, because he was feeling a bit poorly and they thought the damp conditions down here wouldn't benefit. So they said, no, we're just going to stay. Well, half their house disappeared, and yet both of them were completely unhurt until they walked out after the bombing raid to say to people, look, we've escaped, half our house has been blown away. And then a gas main exploded and killed both of them, set them on fire, incinerated them where they stood, and they weren't alone because the lady who died, Mrs. Dodds, she died in the same explosion. So you can understand stuff happening. Can you get around the end there, or is that... You haven't tried. Let's have a go. It looks like there's another corner to go to.
It is, isn't it? Well,
Let's do it. It's eerie down here.
it is.
Not feeling any threat of any kind, mate. I think when Trish was explaining to us about the place...
Yeah.
Oh, we can still go. We're now at Cut Bank,
Yeah.
near the Plumber's Arms, the Mason's Arms, and the Royal Sovereign Inn. Watch your head on these. Should listen to your advice.
It's fascinating, isn't it? You know, all them years ago when they built this, you can just touch it and they built it like this. And
Switch your light off, okay?
It's mad.
Switch your light off. Now, when we do radio, somebody says, oh, the radio shows are different. Imagine this place without the light of that camera. You're touching, you're feeling, you're mooching your way around. That's exactly.
Oh my God.
That is exactly what you get.
That is creepy when it's that dark. It's the echo. How is that then? What's that white thing there?
What white thing? Oh, can you see that as well?
What was that?
Is that might be Tony's light cooling down?
Tony's camera maintenance.
Because I'm seeing a little bit of white.
Yeah.
I don't know, can you see me, Tony?
I can't see a thing.
You can't see anything.
Apart from the screen, which is also black.
Do you know them like Davy lamp things? There's one. What was that?
Jesus.
I just walked up to Tony and got his image.
It is, isn't it? It's like, is that a Davy lamp kind of thing?
It's like that, it's an old-fashioned oil lamp.
Yeah. Oh, look at that, man. How old
That would be the difference between switching lights on and switching lights
Maybe we
off.
should do that at some point tonight. Just turn the lights off, sit and see if we can
See what-
because
Seriously,
that scream we heard last time was
And we got
demonic.
that. And we got that from
down
nowhere.
here. It was down this way as
It
well.
was down this end, definitely. But
Was it?
Still got areas. We could leave you at one end, Kenny.
Say again?
We could leave you at one end.
Up here?
Yeah.
In the dark?
Yeah.
It's not echo.
Well,
Why is it echoing?
yeah, but remember your camera is night vision, so it won't seem dark on the camera.
Yeah, you'll see it on here, won't
You'll
you?
see it, so that's
See
good.
something.
I mean, you won't see anything.
No,
But
no.
This.
Oh, that is echoing.
This.
oh wow!
Oh.
Oh, we get it. I'll tell you, it's getting smaller.
Yeah.
This is not echo.
This is amazing.
There's vibrations in here.
Oh, it feels like we're in a.
Can you feel that?
There's vibrations. Why do you do that?
Do you hear? Yes, do it. It's still going.
It is. It's like an echo vibration. That is really creepy, man. It's getting smaller, isn't it? And narrower.
Yeah. There's some shackles at the end, Kenny. I'll put you in them.
No. Oh.
You are now below the quayside.
God.
Do you see this, Kenny?
What?
You're now below the quayside railway. So we're on the quayside now. We've walked that far, but because you're doing it in a straight line, it's shorter, obviously. Because you...
Oh, look at this big. Look at the water in here. That is just mental. Isn't it?
Absolutely is. You've seen the water in here.
How does the water get in?
Clear.
Look, this is what it's like. You're going to have to put your head right down because it's going to hit your head.
Yeah, I just thought about it.
This is like a proper little tunnel, isn't it?
What about the necromancer?
Look at this wall.
Oh,
Kenny, have you seen this?
so the water.
No. He said, how does the water get in?
Oh, there.
Is that more?
Look at that.
I think it's probably fat, rot,
Oh.
dirt,
How many years?
poo, wee, godly substances. And what else lives down here, do you think?
Oh, there'll be rats in here.
Spiders
Look,
there.
There's got to be rats in here, isn't there? Got to be.
Look at that,
Slugs.
look how orange that looks on the floor as well.
Oh, this is the creepiest bit mine, isn't
Well, this is where we'll leave you and I'll go up the other end.
it? Did you see the necromancer here?
Yeah, I think
Oh
so.
my.
Can you take,
Yeah.
and you just go ahead now.
Were you going to see to do
Oh, I haven't got the amplifier, but we'll probably not
I
need
don't
it.
think we'll need it in here.
I don't think
it?
we'll need
It'll echo anyway, won't
I
it?
don't think we'll
You
need
just stay near the mic a bit.
I'll do that.
Or maybe if I go in front and you go up the side with it.
Can you hear dripping up there? There's dripping up there, man.
Well, let's go ahead. You got the camera. Oh! I'm going to be near your microphone though, Tony, because I'm going to
How many times are we going to bang your head here?
Where is the in that?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, blocking the camera though, that's only
Am I?
Yeah. But just keep it in the air. I mean, it picks up everything. God, it's got very short, this tunnel.
Anyone down here? Anyone down here?
Who?
There's also a family called the Johnsons. Are the Johnsons there?
Gotta be Billy.
The Johnsons left this tunnel early on the 1st of September because they were worried about their 2 dogs. So after the bombing, they were the first one. They kind of worked their way right to the front of the queue.
Right.
And they got out early, and just as they got to their house collapsed on top of them. Husband, wife, 7-month-old baby. And the 2 dogs, strangely enough, survived.
So go in front just because I can only see your backs. It's not very good for people seeing things.
Now make sure you share. We've got our amazing night out badges for you. And blazing proudly upon Kenny's chest. Did you hear that?
That was a cry, wasn't it?
There's a wall.
Can you hear voices?
Yeah, I heard voices there.
Could that be someone just above?
What? Yes. 50, 60 feet above.
No.
Yeah. I'm going to use the amplifier, and the amplifier's in the mid part of the tunnel.
Irene Page.
Local school Irene Page died when she found a gas-filled bomb crater. That's the Tarset Street story that we told us about at the very beginning.
There's the temperature.
What is it? Doesn't look like it's much.
It's not good. What's that?
What's there?
So 10? Just over 10?
50.
Right.
Depends which whether you're old
Yeah.
school. There's the old coal cart. You see, if you were that guy,
You got no
Mr.
chance.
Artless, and that was coming, one of the guys actually leant back,
Right.
and you know, was side by side. And
Yeah.
the other guy was there.
Just underneath.
Could you imagine how scary that was? Thinking, am I going to die in this next second? And they would rock up here, and that's how people dug them out. You see, with drills.
Oh, man.
Incredible, isn't it?
No
Hacking away a
wonder.
lump of earth, and that's all they had. They didn't have electronic equipment. They just they dug this out with shovels.
How could they live for long when they're doing stuff like that?
It's amazing.
Their
isn't it?
back must be just a write-off, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would think. What age would they survive to? The worst story. What's your back, Tony? I saw it just before you did. These are the bunks. It's a modern day representation of you'd put the bed, you know, put a little bed on here, a little bed on there, try and get them to sleep, while the men and women would come and sit down here, and your Auntie Mary, who had a canary up the leg of her drawers, would sit here knitting and chatting and as if nothing was happening while bombs and stuff are going off at
See, there's
You know-
water running down here.
yeah, I know, that's from St Dom's. The worst story that I heard about all of the people who died in and around. It's a story about a woman. Oh, how far down? Do you see how far this goes?
No.
Have you put a torch on that? Just so that you know for yourself.
Oh, man. You see. That is just creepy as how can we? Night
But we
vision.
heard voices halfway through. Could we be making hearing stuff from upstairs?
You shouldn't be able to, surely.
I mean, how far is the
I think
like?
34. I mean, the lowest point's about 30 feet. The longest probably 50, 60. But there'll be buildings above.
Yeah.
St Anne's Church we're under.
So we'll be under the crypt.
Oh.
Now, do you remember if you come down here when we did our Grizzly Trail of Newcastle? We walked around there and we were telling the story of how it was built by the Freemasons.
Oh,
do you
yeah.
remember it?
Uh huh.
Now, if we are under the crypt of it, that gives us the opportunity for
Yeah.
other things too, doesn't But the worst, and please share this if you possibly can. Get this out to as many people. What was that odd noise? Did you hear like
I heard like a whisper.
I heard a whisper and almost like a Rolf Harris wobbleboard kind of.
Yeah? What was
There's a gap there. They come through there.
Something could have, but it would have to be little and small. Well, that was weird.
Anybody watching this who's got claustrophobia will not be able to handle this.
But on saying that, I don't feel terrified down here. I do feel secure. Did you see the ceiling's soaking?
I know, but look, that is literally 6'6" of height of that, isn't it? As soon as you go to the side, you hit your head.
Yeah, no.
So
you've just got to be aware.
at its maximum height, it's about 6'6", isn't it?
Well, I've already started my my 5'9". So
I think it's time to split the stream.
already.
Yeah. Remember what?
Oh, of course. Oh my goodness. Look, I've got a very unpleasant and gory story to share with you about something that is impossible for you to comprehend in any of our minds. Yet it happened to a young girl called Lynn Hall who survived the war. And it happened in a place called Athol Street, which is about 2 or 3 streets along. In Sandyford, Newcastle, the Methodist Church and the nurses' home were both very badly damaged. Lynn Hall was a trainee nurse at the time, and I'll tell you what she saw in the second half, and it'll blow your mind. Tony, if people would like to join us, how do they do it?
Yeah, if you're on Facebook, just look at the video description. There's a link there to become a subscriber, and part 2 will appear. Same on YouTube, just follow the link, and then part 2 will be in your members only area.
Now, we've already had a few little bits and pieces. What we're going to do, we're going to stay down here. We're going to necromance properly with our amplifier so everybody can be able to hear it. We are also going to set Kenny at one end, and I'll be at the opposite end. Great. And we'll see what we get, and then we'll swap.
Right.
Okay? Right. Just so we're both as vulnerable as we possibly can.
With the lights out.
With the lights out, absolutely. And don't think that we're just staying in the tunnels. We have so many stories to tell you. So many poltergeists, murders, child sales, and a host of other things coming at you in the full, unexpurgated Alan Robson's glorious trip to the Victoria Tunnels. See you on the other side. Right, let's continue down here.
I keep hitting my helmet. Sorry.
Sorry.